You're not imagining it. Welcome to That 80s Show. It has been a while. Almost. Like, remember when your favorite TV show used to take a production break? And you hated it.
You had to wait like a year to see what happened when something ended on a cliffhanger. And that's what we have now done to our audience.
Our last show did not end up on a cliffhanger, but you know what's been the great thing? You know what's been the fantastic thing is? So,
Yeah.
used to work in radio and people say, oh, there is nothing worse than when listeners know that you've gone off air, right? Because sometimes radio stations do just go off air, and you as a radio presenter, you don't even know. You just carry on, and listeners start saying, you've gone off air, we can't hear you. So there's something worse. People not noticing that you went off air. That's worse. But that didn't happen to us because we've been having so many people say, where is the new show? What is happening? Where have you guys been? I said, listen, I don't want to speculate.
Have you fallen into the swamp of Never-Ending Story?
Don't even bring that up to me. And I was like, listen, guys, the last time I saw Dori was at the Thomas Anders concert. She was bum rushing the stage. I don't know if the two are related. But unfortunately, Dori did herself an accident.
An old person injury, let's be honest.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, people cannot hate on us because they can totally relate. Because if you, this is the show for people who, if you sneeze too hard, you're off work for a week. So, you know, they can absolutely relate. But Dori, I'm so glad that you have not climbed out of your sick bed. It was literally live from Dori's sick bed.
I'm literally lying in bed doing the show because I need to do the show. I missed it.
Oh, it is therapy for you, me, listeners. And we just hope we get through the next hour without Dori being attacked by her admittedly very beautiful, but very clawy looking cat.
He's just, he loves to be held.
Okay.
And he likes to be held on very close to my face.
Okay.
You know how they like to just sit right by your face.
I get it. I know it.
And block your breathing.
I know it.
That's what he likes.
I know it.
And it's winter, so he really likes
That's what I'm saying. So listen, there is so much to catch up on. We've both got, I've got a movie that, like, I was watching the movie and every 5 minutes I was like, oh my God, I cannot wait to tell Dori about this movie. I have literally sat on my hands and my tongue, and you have literally like been, I would have knocked you down. I would have knocked you off your feet with this movie, and I didn't even have to. I cannot wait. I know I'm making a big assumption about your movie recommendation. But there is,
I think it's a safe assumption, but we'll find out.
Yeah, very safe assumption. But so what we're going to do this week, there is so many things, because what we do, I've got a Google Doc, and I've got my own. And as I get stories and link, I put the link in there. So I've got weeks and weeks and weeks of stories. So I've got a new section, Dori, called "Don't You Forget About These."
I love it. Love it.
Where I'm going to give you fantastic segment called Don't You Forget About These, because I've got so many stories for you, Dori. I've been waiting weeks to talk to you about these things, and I want the listeners to hear as well. Okay, so are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Are you comfortable?
Very.
Are you lying down?
I'm literally lying down.
Okay. So let's start. First off, of course, one of the big things this time of year always is Glastonbury, right? And last year, Rick Astley blew everyone away at Glastonbury. From the reports, people didn't love Glastonbury this year. I don't know if you kind of picked that up as well.
I didn't see a lot. I only saw the Coldplay, Michael J. Fox thing, really. I didn't see anything else.
Okay. Well, that's a great spoiler there. So listen, from the sound of it, Glastonbury, I wasn't even going to talk about that as part of this section called Don't You Forget About These. I've got a very simple mind, so I can only do one thing at a time. So, but people are complaining. They say Glastonbury wasn't great this year. Last year was so good. Already, the organizers are like, oh shit, they've already leaked that they're going to get Eminem to kind of close out, be the main stage final act for Glastonbury next year, because they're like, okay, listen, this year sucked. Coldplay was the big headliner. I don't hate on Coldplay. I know lots of people do.
I'm not a fan. I love 2 songs. The rest, I hate. Kind of like Radiohead. Same idea.
Yes, okay. No, I'm with you. See, I don't hate on Coldplay, but I'm just like, you know what? I don't like any band that sounds like the soundtrack to Grey's Anatomy. You know what I mean?
I've got
like,
you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If your song ended up in Grey's Anatomy,
soft rock, soft pop.
Yeah, like lyrics that, like on surface level, they sound like they're deep, but like they're just nonsense. But again, don't hate them, just, indifferent to them. But of course, huge love because they decide to bring Michael J. Fox up on stage with them, which was a really classy act. We put the video on our Facebook page, that 80 Show SA, where you'll find all the stories of today's show. But the big 80s act that was at Glastonbury this year was Cyndi Lauper, right?
I didn't even know that.
Yes. And she wasn't like the headliner or the main stage final night. She was one of the kind of daytime acts, right? Which is, a daytime act at Glastonbury is people are either recovering from the night before or preparing for the night that's coming. So you have to be like a super fan. So here is a review from The Guardian written by Al Hunt, who now reviews, of course, Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
She was on the pyramid stage. So the pyramid stage is actually a big deal at Glastonbury. So I understand. First, she talks about what she was wearing, looking every inch the rock chick of yore in a silver bustier, matching silver trousers and platform trainers, and of course, the fingerless net gloves. Fantastic.
Okay. I'm Googling this.
Right?
Well, is there a picture on the article?
Just click the link on the article. She's right there in her glory. Now, there have been some, what was it, 2 or 3 New Years ago, she performed a big New Year's thing and her voice lit down on her and people shat all over her. We're like, that's not fair, don't do that. At Glastonbury, so her song list, she comes out on stage, starts off with The Goonies Are Good Enough, her 1985 single.
Yeah.
Good start. Dori, fun fact I learned this week. The Goonies, when they... you've never watched The Goonies, right? I'm not a fan.
I have, but I don't remember it. I watched it in the 80s and not since.
So they go underground, okay?
Yeah.
They go underground the same day Marty McFly went back to 1955. Same date.
Really?
Same date.
That's weird. Okay.
Yeah. It's not weird because I think they it's not weird.
I mean, that's interesting. Is it a conspiracy theory?
Steven Spielberg was involved in both of them.
There's something like important about that date to him somehow.
There's something. But that's a fun fact. That's a fun fact, I learned. So she starts with Goonies Are Good Enough. She then goes into She Bop, loving that.
Nice. She looks amazing.
She does look phenomenal.
My God, how old is she?
She's about 60, and she is a multi-millionaire because she sold all of her songs to Bjorn from ABBA.
Oh,
she sold her entire...
71, dude.
What?
She's 71, and she's been married to the same man since 1991.
You see, Cyndi Lauper, girls just want to settle down, and she did. So then you know what, even more so this review kind of like gets down on her a little bit for running out of energy and her voice giving up, and at times she relying on the crowd to like help her sing songs. I mean, she's 71, like leave her alone.
Come on,
leave her alone. So then from there she goes into I Drove All Night. I didn't love that song, but I think it was more 90s I Drove All Night.
Yeah.
She then goes into Time After Time. Of course, people are waiting. She then sings a cover version. They love singing cover versions, 1 or 2 cover versions.
Yeah.
And then, no surprise, finishes off Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Okay.
At least you didn't start with it, hey?
Good on you, Cyndi Lauper. Leave your biggest hit for last. Unfortunately, after Girls Just Want to Have Fun, a lot of people left and missed True Colors and Time After Time. So, a nice kind of schmaltzy kind of ending, soft, chill out like guys.
Interesting that she ended on like a low, slow kind of vibe.
Time After Time's fantastic though. If you're at Glastonbury, it's hot.
True Colors though as well. It's probably one of my favorites. Yeah.
That is a good encore double.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, now I've got a bit of post FOMO.
I know.
Retro FOMO.
Retro FOMO. Like my daughter says, we left Sun City after a really nice weekend. She was with her friends the whole weekend, and she goes, "Geez, I literally have FOMO of my past self."
Retro FOMO. There's now a name for it.
Retro FOMO.
Yeah.
that 80s show the past few weeks, or the subsequent few weeks, or in the past, we have spoken about 80s apes. Okay, apes, huge in the 80s. We're talking about Claude, the various orangutans that were involved in Any Which Way But Loose, Any Which Way You Can. But the biggest ape of the 1980s was undoubtedly Michael Jackson's confidant, Bubbles the chimp. Remember him?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember that I used to get Number One magazine every week, and they used to just they used to make fun of Bubbles every week. They were always like ripping Bubbles off in some way or another.
I thought you were going to say that Bubbles was like occasionally the centerfold, the main poster.
No, no, but there was always some sort of reference to Bubbles, and it was always in like a very this is ridiculous kind of tone, you know?
Michael Jackson got Bubbles at that kind of period where he was just starting to get really weird. You know, there was Bubbles, then he bought the Elephant Man's bones. Remember that?
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
You know? So it was at that period where he just started getting a little bit odd, and Bubbles was, of course, how can a man own an ape? It's like, well, of course he can own an ape. He's friggin' Michael Jackson. But anyway, Bubbles was Michael Jackson's ape, and Bubbles is 41. He just turned 41 a few weeks ago.
He's still alive.
He is still alive. Now, thanks to this article, chimpanzees live to between 50 and 60 years old. So he's like in retirement now. You know, he's settling down.
So he got Bubbles as like let's go with a toddler, right? Not a baby. Bubbles was not a tiny baby when he got Bubbles.
So he got him when he was very young. He's now staying at the Center for Great Apes in Florida, right? Okay. He's got a lot of freedom in the sanctuary. He explores tunnels. He's got a little building. He has midday naps. He paints even. He keeps himself busy by painting.
Wow.
Right? He's very healthy. He's got veterinarians checking him on all the time. There's a picture of Bubbles right now. Like now, you can go on. We'll put it at that 80 show say of Bubbles enjoying his retirement. Okay, he's very friendly and he's very playful, right?
Yeah.
And they say there is never been any sign that this chimp was mistreated, abused. He loves people. He's very good with people. So he evidently had a very good life at Neverland.
Mm-hmm.
He does like to tease people. He gets the Michael Jackson estate, cares for Bubbles since Michael Jackson's death, and contributes to his annual care costs, plus the running of the sanctuary with a donation of $30,000 a year. Now that's for Bubbles. That's for Bubbles and his friends.
I mean, I love on the article, there's this picture that looks almost like a selfie.
Yes.
So funny. It is so funny. But so imagine in like Michael Jackson's will, he was like, I mean, how many kids did he have? A bunch. He had a bunch of kids. And then also Bubbles. Like he Bubbles is like one of his children.
Bubbles is never going to come out. Bubbles hasn't come out with allegations against Michael Jackson.
Mm-mm.
Bubbles had how many sleepovers? No allegations.
Let's not go
Bubbles
there.
is getting
Let's keep this pure.
Okay.
Let's keep this wholesome.
Michael Jackson, remember he had the one son blanket?
Yes.
Which wasn't the kid's name. In this article, I've learned the kid's name is Biggie. Biggie Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
B-I-G-I, I see it. That's very weird.
B-I-G-I. So Bubbles, he gets mangoes, coconuts, and gets sent blankets. This is from Michael Jackson's fan club. So Michael Jackson's fan club are now showering Bubbles with gifts. He also gets visits from Michael Jackson's attorney and other family members.
That's pretty cool. I would like to go visit Bubbles.
I would go visit Bubbles.
Yeah.
Or if Bubbles could talk.
No, don't go there. Come on.
When's Bubbles' autobiography coming out? When's Bubbles doing a podcast? Blowing Bubbles.
No, you didn't.
You said you wanted to be pure.
Okay, can we go on to the next story?
Let's go to right along to the next story. I took a very sweet story about Bubbles the chimpanzee. I want to talk to you as well, Dori. Big song on the radio these days, new song by Eminem. You know Eminem, it's so crazy. Like, think you've got a teenager as well.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when hip-hop and rap music became mainstream and your parents were like, oh, parental advisory, explicit lyrics, do not listen to rap, it's terrible music. Where like now, when my daughter plays hip hop, if it's not sampled like a hip hop song from the 90s, I'll go, no. That's rubbish. Take a listen to my hip hop. It's like, it's quite crazy to think about, like, Eminem is kind of like in the Foo Fighters category that you're now getting dad rap. You know what I mean?
Dad rap.
Right.
I'll be honest with you, I've only heard one of the new Eminem songs, and I don't even remember it.
Well, Dori, you would remember it because it's the one that samples Steve Miller's Abracadabra.
I don't think that's the one I heard then, because I would have remembered that.
Oh, well, Dori, I would say, Dori, have you been living under a blanket for 2 weeks? And you have
I
been.
literally have. Under pillows.
And pillows.
On pillows. Pillows everywhere.
And under sedation. So, yeah, so Eminem's brought out a new song called Houdini that samples Steve Miller's Abracadabra.
Great
I
song.
love it.
Great song.
Fantastic song. And you're going, normally I hate it when 80 songs get sampled, but it's Eminem and he did really well. It's like really good. It's kind of like the spiritual successor to Shady's Back, Guess Who's Back. So it's very much in that genre. So it's fun and it's just fun, Dori.
Okay. I'll make a plan to listen to
Steve Miller loves it.
Oh, that's cool. Because he's getting royalties, right?
He posted on Instagram. There is a long chain of stories, poetry, lyrics, and musical roots that have crossed cultures and generations, inspiring the whole world for hundreds of years. And in all those lines of thought, music, and rhythm, there are special artists who take it all in and create new original ideas from their own feelings and experiences. You are one of the timeless originators building something new on a long musical history of original artists. Steve Miller's words. I've always tried to credit, honor, and respect the major influences in my life, and to always credit, honor royalties, and share knowledge of their work through my own work. I didn't know it would be this way when I was a kid trying to make a living playing music and making records. I only knew that I respect the art that came before me and fight for it too among all the crooks, thieves, and imposters.
Doesn't that sound like someone sampled him and not paid him in the past?
That, I'm now intrigued. He closes off going, Marshall Mathers, you're an exception. And on my short list of people who respect the art, to be included in your process feels good while I'm still singing and playing the music I love. I'm honored. Now, this is taking a true crime turn.
I think that's a bit dramatic.
Who
stole Abracadabra?
So now, Abracadabra only spent 2 weeks at number one in the 80s. It's getting huge plays again on YouTube or Spotify because obviously people go, what song is this?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's obvious there. He talks about thieves, crooks. People are stealing Steve Miller's music, making his royalties disappear like magic. Abracadabra. Where I'm going. So his music has been sampled by numerous artists over the years, including other hip-hop stars like Nas, Lil Wayne, Ice Cube, Beastie Boys, and NWA.
Ooh, did none of them pay him?
So which one of those is he referring to as the crook?
All of them, because he said you, Marshall, are the exception. He's referring to all of them.
Shame on Nas, Lil Wayne, Ice Cube, Beastie Boys, and NWA.
No, Beastie Boys, not Beastie Boys. How could they?
And one last thing. I loved the story when I saw it. I take you now, Dori, to the Emerald Isles Island, okay? Which you can no longer go to visa-free as a South African this week. Yep. Announced, very upsetting for South Africans. I think was the last place in the EU that you could go without a
I didn't even know, but, now I know.
Now you know.
Not like I'm going anywhere. Can't even get out of bed right now, so
no,
traveling to Ireland is not on the list.
Not your problem right now. So somebody who did go to Ireland was, okay, let me tell you the story, right?
Yeah.
So there's a hotel, famous hotel in Dublin. Fire alarm goes off.
Okay.
Forced to evacuate. This is probably about a month ago. Right, exactly a month ago. Fire, chaos. Now Ireland, it's not a major news country. So of course, if there's a fire in a hotel, the news are there. They're covering this live. This is a live story.
Yeah.
And they're interviewing guests. What's going on? Everyone's okay. What's happening? So they start speaking to the one man, American tourist, telling them about the fire. So people go, hold on a second. That's Henry Winkler.
That is so funny. That is so random. What was he doing there?
So he was on holiday. He was like visiting Dublin. He's in the hotel. And of all people they decide to interview, they say they had no idea who he was. They just started speaking to the first person that they saw.
That's so funny. Look, I never watched Happy Days. No, I lie. I probably watched one episode of Happy Days at some point. But like, I was not like, So I know Henry Winkler from all the stuff he's done since Happy Days. Specifically, an amazing series called Barry. If you haven't watched it, you got to watch it.
You're a big fan of Barry.
I'm a big fan of Barry.
I'm going to get into what Henry Winkler's been up to because this led me down a Henry Winkler rabbit hole, right?
Yes. He is 78. Just say
78. I played a little game of Wee Willie Winkler and I ran through the internet in my nightgown, right? This isn't the first time that Henry Winkler has been stopped by a news crew to give a witness account as to what's happening.
Is he the arsonist?
This is what there's a pattern here because in 10 years ago, right, 11 years ago, he was involved in a similar scenario when a BBC reporter was asking Londoners what they thought about a new runway coming to Heathrow Airport. He stops Henry Winkler and says, what do you think? He says, well, I'm not a UK resident, but I think it'll be good for the economy. And then off he walks.
Do you think it's because he's got that look? He's got that like everyman look.
Like friendly.
He looks like your dad, like he's that guy. Yeah.
He just, and I think somewhere in your mind's eye, you go, I think I know this guy. I've got to, you know what I mean? But he's not well known enough. And especially like, I think in America, everyone will know him straight away. But I think especially like maybe UK, as well. It's kind of like, I think sometimes in Adam Sandler movies, that's him. So you do quite rightly say there, Dori, that Henry Winkler was the Fonz and huge. Happy Days, massive, right? And Happy Days finished in 1984. He then goes, I was surprised by that, right? Because I'm trying to equate how old would he have been by that?
70s only. But okay.
So, but I mean, it must have really been on its last, absolutely. Because listen, Happy Days was huge.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so what did he do? In the 80s, kind of like he fell off. So he went from being this massive personality through the 70s, and now in the 80s, kind of like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's happening now, right? So he didn't really act in anything major, but started producing, right? He wins a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program with a TV show called All the Kids Do It, which starred Scott Baio. Right? Okay. He then directs a movie called Memories of Me starring Billy Crystal. He also directed in the 90s Cop and a Half with Burt Reynolds. Then he goes, okay, well, let me do some executive producing, some producing stuff. Produces a movie called The Sure Thing with Rob Reiner, a TV show called The Dead Man's Gun, and also a little TV show you may have heard. He was the executive producer of MacGyver.
Huh. I don't remember that.
Well, I mean, he was never in it. He never starred in it.
But I don't remember seeing his name on the credits.
Right. Until you start thinking, wait, maybe I did, because Winkler is quite a funny name. You go, I'm sure I saw. And now I'm starting to think, Winkler, like, did he put his name into the theme song?
YouTube probably has the credits somewhere. We could check.
We got to go find it. So this is, see, Dori, this is what I'm saying. So many things have been happening. We've got to update on all the 80s stuff. I can't even explore.
We're running out of time.
Exactly.
I'm just looking at some of these posts that are on this article that people posted on the fact that he was in Ireland to promote his new memoir called Being Henry, The Fonz and Beyond.
Okay, good.
And then he posted on X and posted about what happened. And some of the comments are so funny. Ireland might have become an international pariah if we'd killed Henry Winkler. That's Connor Wilson. People saying, oh my God, imagine like you were a reporter, you said to cover the fire and you see Henry freaking Winkler. These are all very Irish names. That's Neve, spelled Niamh.
That's my niece who lives in Ireland. That's her second name. Very Irish.
Yes, and it's like, I mean, I think that's just pure torture to give someone a name that is spelled and sounds completely different.
Yeah, but the Irish have a lot of that. Siobhan.
Yeah, Siobhan, exactly.
Queven. Have you heard the name Queven?
I haven't, but I'm going to read you.
It's Gaelish Kevin. It's Queven. It's Queven.
There's a post that says, today in unexpected wholesomeness, and the person is RIOGHNACHNIGHRIOGHAIR. I have no idea how to pronounce that person's name. Not a clue.
Again, we'll investigate because I figured out how to say Queven.
Okay.
So, yeah, let's investigate that. We'll figure that name out.
But yes, that's such a lovely Henry Winkler story.
Before we get to our movies, I got one last story in the segment called Don't You Forget About These, where I take my simple mind and I cover some of the stories I've been wanting to tell Dori for ages. Thompson Twins, Hold Me Now, Doctor, fantastic, right?
Right.
In the 1980s, they had a video game called the Thompson Twins Adventure. Nowadays, the tie-ins, you know, when you launch media, there's a tie-in for everything. There's an app, there's a mobile game. But in the 80s, this didn't happen often. So the game was released with the album as a promotional flexi disc. Now, remember when you used to buy magazines and you got a free game with it or a demo disc with it?
Mm-hmm.
Dori, I think it's a safe space. I used to steal those. I did.
CNA.
I did. Because they were normally in the international magazines. Remember, you either had international magazines on the shelf or you had to go collect your special order international magazines.
Yes. In the
and sometimes they'd be on the shelf.
Like it was a porno. Yes.
I assume.
Where my number one magazines would sit every week with my name on the folder. Yes.
Now, those magazines that had the demos, because they like start in the 90s and evidently in the 80s, they used to put like a CD-ROM or a stiffy, you know. Maybe did you ever go pick up a stiffy with your porno? Maybe that's where you're... And the CD was on the top and I was like, oh, I should buy the magazine. But that magazine's 20 Rand.
Yeah.
90 Rands. That's so expensive. So look around. There were no surveillance. In my pants. No one's going to stop me. Oh, you're putting your hand down a kid's pants, son. I'm thieving. I used to steal them. Anyway, it wasn't worth it because you get like one level of a game that took like 2 days to boot up. So, you know, it wasn't a victimless crime. I was the victim. So in this game, you could get it as a sample or with a special edition. It was called a flexi disc. Okay, now this is a technology that did definitely not take off.
No.
Okay, it was games distributed on grooved discs. Now, I have not been able to find what it played on. It said it played on the ZX Spectrum or the Commodore 64, but I'm thinking of those like, how? Like those how did you even play it on there? So I will do some more investigation.
Yeah.
Probably not because this story has inspired me to something even better, which I'll come back to you with next week. But basically how this game, it was based on the single Doctor, and it featured the Thompson Twins band. Now, the Thompson Twins band wasn't 2 people, was 3 people. Yeah. Very confusing. Stay with me. Okay.
With you.
And it revolved around the Thompson Twins members, Tom Bailey, Alana Curry, and Joe Leeway, and they had to gather ingredients for the concoction of the titular doctor's potion. The game opens with the Thompson Twins at a beach, and from there you have to go through a load of areas of forest, a cavern, searching for ingredients, take it to the doctor, he makes a potion, and the game ends. That was the game.
I wonder if have you checked if there's anything of this on YouTube? Because it must be like old, like those very bitty graphics, right?
So it is very 8-bit. I've posted, there are some photos which will go on that 80 Show SA Facebook page. If I find a video with gameplay, I will be posting it. I mean, the graphics look as terrible as it does sound.
Exactly what I was picturing.
Right?
I see it.
You don't even have to. If you're listening to this right now and you go, let me stop, let me go look at the Facebook page. No, your mind, is exactly telling you what you're doing in this game. Okay, what it looks like. Very simple and a short game.
The forest is like if a kid had a green wax crayon and just went on a page. That's the forest.
I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt because this is like 1984, right? This is very early. I'm just like, that's great. That's innovative.
But this looks like a 7 single.
Yes, it was the Doctor single.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Oh, that is the single.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the game. All right.
But the game looked like, so it says from what I understand,
I can see
the game.
There's a picture of the flexi disc.
It's so, but I don't understand how it worked.
I will ask my husband because my husband was the biggest ZX. What was it? ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, all those things.
Oh, good,
he was all into that. Okay. I'll ask him and I'll show him. That's
your homework.
Yes,
that's your homework for the next show.
Right.
You know what my homework is for the next show? I'm going
talking about stiffies. Yes.
Well, yes, we'll try. I'm going to. Okay, I'm going to brainstorm in my own brain. I'm going to go get the top 10 songs of the 1980s.
You're going to make
and come up with video game concepts for them, and I'll present them back to you next week.
I already have one for Safety Dance.
I already have one for Club Tropicana. We all do. Okay. It's basically Leisure Suit Larry, except Larry is Tony Pike.
And Grace Jones will be there.
Yes. So that's what I'm doing next week. Inspired by this, I'm going to go, okay, so you can do the Safety Dance one.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I will come up with concepts for the top 10 songs of the 1980s if they all had to have a video game based on the song.
Right.
So that is the end of part 1 of Don't You Forget About These, our roundup of the 80s stories. I even had one. I had a Never Ending Story one. I had so many, but we got to stop somewhere.
Yes.
Because now it is time to talk about our 80s viewing, and I've been waiting literally weeks for this. But Dori, you go first, and I cannot wait to watch what you're recommending.
Because you assume you know what I'm recommending. You're probably right.
It's a safe assumption.
So, as we have established, I am relatively stuck in bed at the moment. And there was a little school holiday last week. So, me and the teenager were kind of hanging out, being lazy. And I said, we are going to do a movie marathon. We're going to do a Netflix movie marathon. We did the first 2 movies on the Saturday and the last 2 movies on the Sunday. I am, of course, talking about Beverly Hills Cop.
Well, it's called Axel. It's not called Beverly Hills Cop. It's called Axel F, isn't it?
Beverly Hills Cop. It's called Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, the latest installment, which we spoke about on a previous episode that this thing was coming. Let me just tell you, I did not remember anything from the early movies. Nothing.
So you watched all 3 of. So you went 1, 2, 3, and then the new one.
Yeah, we did 1 and 2 on the Saturday, and we did 3 and the new one on the Sunday. And I kept saying, "Oh, this new one's going to disappoint. It's not going to live up." That being said, Beverly Hills Cop 2 is not amazing. It's very average. You know why? No Serge. Without Serge, Beverly Hills Cop, very average. It really is the weakest. It's the weakest of it.
Now, if you're not a fan, maybe you don't know, Serge was played by Bronson Pinchot, who was equally as famous. Balki Bartakamus from Perfect Strangers. Yes. Now, don't be ridiculous. Of course you remember who Balki Bartakamus is. Mm-hmm. But basically playing, I think Balki Bartakamus came from, and I assume like a composite of like Cyprus and very much an island off a main European country. Cyprus, Sardinia, Madeira, where like the mainland.
Where was he from actually? Like, did they ever say?
Mythos.
Oh,
Mythos.
Mythos. Yes. Okay.
So completely made up, but obviously, some sort of Greek kind of island. And then comes to the big city, but does the most hilarious kind of characterization, accent, whatever. And then Serge, he then takes a similar character into Beverly Hills. Serge just never says where Serge is from. Serge is just worked in an art gallery in Beverly Hills Cop 1.
Somewhere between French and Italian, I don't know.
German, Austrian.
Who knows?
Like, you can't really place him. He's just a funny European man. So cultured.
He's amazing.
Puts a little dash of lemon in his espresso.
He's amazing. So Serge was very obviously missing from Beverly Hills Cop 2. Brigitte Nielsen was one of the main characters in Beverly Hills Cop 2. So it's like, okay, yeah, iconic, all those things. But it was kind of weak compared to the others. Number one, I mean, it's the first of its kind. You've got Eddie Murphy. Maybe you didn't know Eddie Murphy from before. I think most people would have maybe known him for his stand-up before that. I don't know if he did any other big movies before Beverly Hills Cop. I'm sure he did.
No, Beverly Hills Cop was his absolute breakout.
Okay.
Even like the opening sequence, well, when he first gets to Beverly Hills and he walks down the street and there's two guys wearing his leather jumpsuits from his stand-up from Raw and Delirious.
I thought that was a Michael Jackson thing, actually.
They're wearing his jumpsuits from Raw and Delirious, and he stops and laughs at them, which is quite good.
So it's a nice little Easter egg, which I didn't get completely. But anyway, and you know me in action films. I'm not a big fan of action films, but I'm going to make an exception here because I really enjoyed it. Thoroughly. And God, my kid loved Serge and loved Judge Reinhold's character. Which I had totally forgotten that Judge Reinhold was even in these movies.
Yeah.
And his character is great. Billy, who's a cop, who's
Chris Rock. Chris Rock is in Beverly Hills Cop as well.
A little bit of an appearance. It's a very short, small. It's like a cameo more than anything else.
Yeah.
But Judge Reinhold is actually amazing because he comes across as this nerdy cop. But then the more you get to know him, you realize, oh my God, he's actually completely insane. He's mad about guns. He's actually like a real tough guy. With like this, very sweet overtone. It's
very softly spoken.
It's
very softly spoken.
Such an enjoyable movie. We're gonna So also Paul Reiser is in it. Paul Reiser from Mad About You. You might remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember I don't know the name of the guy who plays the police chief in the first movie. Oh my God, he's hilarious, and he is definitely the police chief that every other movie has ripped off of the shouting black guy.
Even Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
totally. And I'm watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine at the moment as well. So it's like very big, strong parallels there. Paolo, the new movie, I was expecting it to be crap. It is not crap. Even if you took it out of context and saw it as a standalone movie, not part of this franchise, it's still a decent movie.
So the story is in Beverly Hills Cop is that Eddie Murphy, obviously he's been in Detroit for the past 40 years.
Yeah.
And his daughter's now in trouble.
Yep.
And he comes back to Beverly Hills. They're estranged. They don't have a great relationship to help his daughter solve a crime. It's a stupid crime. None of it makes any sense.
Have
These
you watched
corrupt
it?
cops. I have watched it.
Oh, I thought you hadn't watched it yet.
No, I have watched it.
The storyline's kind of irrelevant. Honestly, it's kind of irrelevant.
He meets up with, his old cop mates. Judge Reinhold's character is no longer a cop. He's a private investigator. And then he obviously befriends Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like you say, who has had relations with his daughter.
Yes.
Right. There's a bit of tension there.
But I mean, at first you're like, is this guy, is he a good guy, is he a bad guy? And then, of course, Kevin Bacon is in it. And you know straight away he's the bad guy. Sorry, spoiler alert, but you do know straight away he's the bad guy.
He's in the trailers, but it's not made a big thing about it.
Yeah.
So Kevin Bacon is kind of like him and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are the new additions to it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, whenever I see him in something, I always go, that was the long-haired kid from Third Rock from the Sun.
I know.
It's like, it's so weird.
Always going to be the kid from Third Rock from the Sun. I know.
No matter, he can have a beard, it doesn't matter. He's still that kid.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon is just, I thought Kevin Bacon, like, I love Eddie Murphy. Kevin Bacon was the highlight for me.
Really?
Because he leans into this terrible, the villain role so well.
He really does do the villain well.
Sucks.
He really does.
Yeah.
But my other favorite was, and it was also like more of a cameo appearance than anything, Luis Guzman has the most amazing appearance in this movie. And my kid loves Luis Guzman from Community because he's a big thing in Community.
Yeah.
It's just it was a highly enjoyable movie. Honestly,
so
can't complain. I have no complaints. It is better than number 2.
I have a complaint for you.
I do actually have one complaint. Let's hear yours first.
So my complaint is, of course, we spent a big portion of leading up to this about Serge. I love Serge.
Yes.
I quote Serge from Beverly Hills Cop 3 when he's a security advisor,
So
where his
funny.
personal trainer's name is Dori. His personal trainer's name is
Really?
Dori.
I didn't even notice that.
Yes, no, his personal trainer's Dori. She's battling. He can't lose weight because he keeps sneaking away to go have a goat's cheese.
That whole scene was so funny.
I'm waiting for Serge.
Yes.
The highlight is Serge. We've seen little teaser videos with Serge. And now Serge fully leaning in. When we saw Serge in the 80s, all black suits.
Yes.
Now he's got peroxided blonde hair, very out, and he's now an estate agent. If he's in it for 5 minutes in a scene and he says 3 lines,
there wasn't enough.
why would you not, don't even put Serge in, say he's dead?
I mean, it was a great 5 minutes though. But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
I would watch Beverly Hills Serge. I would watch that for 2 hours.
Okay, so don't spin-off series.
Exactly,
Honestly.
Beverly Hills Serge. I want that. I want that.
There was also a little bit of a plot hole, which maybe not a plot hole, but it annoyed us in that you see that his daughter was born in 1991.
Yes.
And
I know where you're going. Yes.
Yes. And Beverly Hills Cop 3 is set in 1994.
Yeah.
And the timeline doesn't work out. It doesn't work.
But I think they make a comment about it, don't they? When they're trying to work out the timing, they are aware of it. They kind of like fourth wall it because he goes, when last were you? Yeah, he says 1994.
Yes.
And then he kind of, they do in a weird way address it.
Yeah, but in 1994, he was all flirty with the lady who worked at the park. And they, at some point in the movie, they made it clear that he was married to her mom for a long time before they split up. So it doesn't work. The timeline does not work. It's a plot hole. It's an inconsistent. It's a continuity error.
It's kind of like having FOMO of your past self. Like, can you have a continuity? But I get you. I'm with you.
So that's the only thing that bugged us. It was just like, guys, like such a small little detail. Just make her younger. I don't know. She could have been younger.
I don't think we need to see Axel Foley old.
No, but he's aged really well.
No, he has. And Eddie Murphy has aged phenomenally.
Aged really well, actually, except for Taggart. But Taggart, I think that guy's really old. But
he's always been old, right?
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not saying I don't need to see Eddie Murphy old. Axel Foley as a 60-year-old man doesn't work.
I hear you.
That's what bothered me. It's the same shtick that he was doing when he was younger, and it's like it doesn't work. It's like, just, can you please grow up?
But they kind of address that where he goes to the hotel and he's like starting to, like be all like, then he's like, oh, just give me a room.
No, yeah, and he just pays for the room. No, but you see things like that, like, I don't know. It's just like, I think Eddie, you know what? Eddie Murphy was such a force of nature when he was young, especially in the Beverly Hills Cops, because I mean, he then goes and does 48 Hours, which is basically Beverly Hills Cops in suits, and it's like he is such a force of nature that he kind of like collapsed Eddie Murphy in on himself.
Yeah,
that there's no like, it's just like, I love Eddie Murphy. I did not need to see Axel Foley old. I will watch Beverly Hills Serge. It's fine. It's like all Netflix films, right? You watch it, and as soon as it's over, you go, I barely gonna remember that movie. I'll never watch it again. Where the previous, even Beverly Hills Cop 2 and even 3, where I love 3 because it's in the theme park.
3's great.
And so, but listen, give yourself a watch. It's completist. You got to do it.
My kid loved them. Also not so much too, because Serge was a favorite. But they've stood the test of time, is what I'm saying. They really have.
They're good.
Yeah,
they're good. More Serge. So
yes. Now I want to hear about yours.
Oh, Dori, I didn't even know this movie was out at the cinema.
Mm-hmm. I did, because I know what movie you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
I did, because I was invited to go with our friend Costa. He invited me to go and watch it with him. And I said, I can't. I am literally bedridden. So I'm missed out. I'm going to start on going to see it.
The movie is Girl, You Know It's True, the Milli Vanilli biopic. We spoke about it when they were first talking. There were a lot of production delays. A lot of the production delays were over music.
Okay.
And releases and whatever, because it released in different countries, different times. We were one of the last people to get it. And like I say, the delays were over music rights, because you can understand how complicated Milli Vanilli music rights must be to clear.
Yeah.
So, Girl, You Know It's True. It's the movie of Beverly Hills Cop. It's the movie of Milli Vanilli, starring, and listen, even while watching it, my wife goes, were Milli Vanilli that good looking? And I said, no. These guys are outrageously good looking.
I mean, I think Milli Vanilli were outrageously good looking. So now I'm Googling.
The guys playing Milli and Vanilli, playing Rob and Fab, Tijan Nji, a German actor, and Ilan Ben Ali, a French actor, who, of course, Rob and Fab were French and German. They are beautiful. They are better looking than Milli Vanilli. Like, they are outrageously good looking. And it tells their story, and it kind of tells their story from their humble beginnings, where they met, and tracks the whole Milli Vanilli story. Of course, if you don't know the Milli Vanilli story, they were the frontmen of a band put together by a German producer who was, when you listen to Boney M and the guy goes, she's crazy like a fool. Yes. That's him.
Yes.
Okay. Who he had done this kind of like fake band vibe before with Boney M, but of course with Boney M, the female singers all could sing. He just added characterization and the dancing man. And then he decided, well, can I do it with a pop band? And he had these two model dancers, frontmen, all with fake singers behind them. Great success, number ones. The thing actually spiraled out of control and got so big that no one expected. They won a Grammy for Best New Artist that nobody expected. Number ones in America. And then, of course, the whole thing kind of like collapses around them. And this is the story of it. Dori.
Is it good?
I am so upset you haven't watched it.
I will get to it.
It is a beautiful movie. I have to tell you, it is. What makes it so good is, firstly, the two actors who play Rob and Fab.
I mean, I'm looking at the poster. They look exactly like the Milli Vanilli guys. It's ridiculous.
No, they're better looking. They're better looking. The guy who plays Fab looks the same. The guy who plays Rob is way better looking than Rob.
I can see that.
Which you might not think it's possible, but he's way better looking than Rob.
Do you know where this movie was filmed?
Well, Dori, whoa.
I'm about to
Dori,
give you... Okay, I'll wait for you.
No. Stop the horlosie, Dori.
Yes.
Dori, is your horlosie stopped? Are your horses held? Okay, please. I'm getting there. Please, I know where you're going.
I only picked this up because of some of the cast members.
Dori!
Okay, I'm waiting.
Dori! That is not the sound of a person whose watch is stopped and holding a horse. You very much sound like your clock is running and you're on a horse. Both of those. Right. So, about the movie, you'll love it because I'll tell you what the great thing is. It's got a German director, right? Now, European filmmakers are a lot more thoughtful than American filmmakers. An American filmmaker would 100% leer into... American filmmakers
into the scandal,
decide on a viewpoint.
The scandal, yeah.
Exactly. He just told the story, and they have this amazing device where he's got Fab and Rob as the characters themselves, breaking the fourth wall, telling each other parts of the story, and then they start arguing because they remember the story differently. They've also got the story, the German producer, we've spoke about him on the show before, Frank Farian. He also now, so all the characters kind of like will break the fourth wall, tell a story. It's not true. Nobody knows. You still walk out of this not knowing which is the actual true side of the story. And they let the viewer decide. Now, you and I have consumed a lot of Milli Vanilli documentaries, podcasts. I listened to one podcast called Gotta Blame It on Something, where they do tell the different part of the story. And the part of the story is based like this. Frank Farian was actually a visionary. He saw what was going to happen with music from the 90s when suddenly you have music videos and you have as much importance being placed on the physical look of a band as well as the music. He saw this first. So he went, can we actually create a band like this? Now, I don't think anybody anticipated Milli Vanilli to get as popular and famous as they were. And that's what the whole thing fell down. Because okay, we're going to be like a moderately successful European band. It kind of happened with Boney M, and it'll be a novelty and we'll just like phase out after 2 or 3 songs. They became absolutely massive. But, I mean, you watch it with today's eyes and you go, is that even wrong? We all know people go on stage, they got a vocoder on their voice. We all know these things happen. Nobody is really ever doing anything, or very few of these popular acts. So you kind of watch it and go, what's actually wrong with it? And there's one point in the movie where obviously we know Rob does end up in prison, and he's now being released from prison, and the prison guard turns and says to the one character, she says, I know it wasn't them, but fuck, I loved Milli Vanilli. and that's it. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
You cannot take away.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated thing. Terribly sad. Terribly sad, because it really breaks, and they really show the absolute 100% breakdown of Rob.
Yeah.
There's a point in the movie where his obsession and everything that's happening, you start to watch him break down. And I think, like in all the jokes we make of it and the lip syncing and the scam and whatever, they really start leaning into that part of it. Great thing about the movie is it was co-produced by Fab and Rob's sister. Thing about Rob, I didn't know, he was adopted by a white family. And he says, like, as even I was listening to an interview with the actor who played him, said, like, it was a difficult thing. He said he can empathize because he grew up as a black kid in Germany. He said there were not many black kids in Germany. He said when he was growing up, let alone Rob. Now being part of a white family who the sense was they adopted a black kid more for what it said about them and, you know, how they would look rather than actually the benefit of the kid. And this is it's left for you to make that assumption about it. So it's very sad what happened to Rob. It's actually heartbreaking. You actually leave there like, I'm very seldom affected by movies.
Yeah.
But that actually went, Jesus, like that's actually quite bad.
Yeah.
But now let's get into what you're talking about.
Right.
So halfway through the movie, this very cheesy, schmarmy American producer pops up and I go, I know this guy. He looks super familiar.
Right.
Okay. Then there's some scenes. There's lavish mansions in Beverly Hills. I go, that looks familiar.
Yes.
They go for a run in the neighborhood. And of course, they're stopped by the cops because they're 2 young black guys running in the neighborhood. I go, Beverly Hills doesn't have streets like that.
Yeah.
They certainly don't have big gates like that. A large part of the movie, specifically a lot of the stuff that was Hollywood based in LA, was shot in Cape Town.
Yep.
And that cheesy American producer was one Mr. Ashley Dowds.
Indeed.
Indeed.
I actually, before I saw his name on the list, I saw Natasha Loring because I know her from some series that I've watched that she's been in. I was like, oh my God, definitely filmed in Cape Town.
I've got to tell you, as many times have you seen the Milli Vanilli story, heard about it, if you've never heard about it. I mean, it's finished at the cinemas, and you know nowadays, finished at the cinemas 2 weeks later, it's somewhere to rent or it's got Netflix or somewhere. If you get the opportunity to watch Girl, You Know It's True, the Milli Vanilli story, do yourself a favor and watch it. It is phenomenal. There's even the story of like Girl, You Know It's True was actually the actual song was stolen from an American hip hop crew. I mean, that is a movie in itself. Okay. So it even gets into that. It's such a phenomenally well put together piece of cinema. And that's what I say, cinema.
And I have to say, I was like, like when I couldn't go, I was like, it's probably, I mean, I didn't realize it was like a European production.
I went into it going, you know what, even if it's not good, the music. I mean, you're going to sit there for 2 hours listening to Milli Vanilli. I mean, who's going to complain about that?
Well, some people, but yes.
Well, literally, my wife and I were the only people in the cinema.
Are you serious?
we went to go watch it at like a privé, like one of the fancy ones. So people normally don't go to those.
Yeah.
But we were literally the only people, and I was like cheering, and my wife was singing to Blame It on the Rain. It was a whole thing.
I was very upset because I would have gone with Costa. He invited me, and I mean, he's the one I went to that Pet Shop Boys documentary. Well, the screening of the concert with.
And
anyway,
and lest we forget.
Yes.
The first time you spoke to me about Costa, you said, you have got to meet this new friend of mine, Costa. He was at my house and he started doing all the dance moves from the Bad Boys music video. Yes. I said, so that is that Costa. he would have danced, and I would have been there all day for it. That is our movie recommendations. I actually thought, I got to be honest with you, I thought you were going to recommend the Brat Pack documentary, because that's out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's out.
Well, I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
So I thought you would have spent like your sick days in bed with Rob Lowe. But
well, if I'd had the choice.
We are running quite long in the show, but I'm not done, because here is the second part of Don't You Forget About These. I tell Dori some of my favorite things. I got two quick ones. Now, a lot of 80s people have been caught up in terrible controversies, right? Rob Lowe being one of them. All good. Charlie Sheen. But one actor who kind of never had any scandal was Tom Selleck.
Not that I can remember. Not that I can think of.
Oh, but Dori, a scandal has erupted around Tom Selleck's name.
Now?
Oh, Dori. Now, it starts off with this, in that, what do you think Tom Selleck does when he's not acting? He's obviously been in Blue Bloods.
Grooms his moustache.
Would you find it hilarious if I called him Magnum GI, because Tom Selleck owns an avocado farm?
Okay, that's hilarious.
I'm so pleased with myself. So in 1988 already, he bought himself an avocado farm, in Ventura County in California, called Selleck Ranch. And he has been an avocado producer for many years. And Selleck Ranch is certified by the California Avocado Commission and produces a variety of avocado cultivars, including Hass, Fuerte, and Bacon. The farm also incorporates sustainable practices such as solar power and water conservation. Well done, Tom Selleck, but no. Oh dear. Because we are about to enter into the biggest scandal of Tom Selleck's career, because he has been involved in stealing 1.4 million gallons of water for his avocado farm. Stealing. Oh boy. Gallons. I don't even know how much gallons is, but I know 1.4 million is a lot.
Sounds like a hell of a lot. Sounds like a shit ton.
During a drought, he goes, I gotta water my avocados.
Not a euphemism.
No. Oh, Magnum PI and the watered avocados. And he goes, I got it, but we're in a drought. He was caught sending a water tanker to go fill up the water tanker from a public fire hydrant. Okay? He was caught doing it at least a dozen times over 2 years. The county of California, or whatever he was, the water district, hired a private investigator to keep an eye on the possible water theft.
But, I mean, if he kept doing it. So he got caught, but he carried on?
No, he was being watched over the course of 2 years, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and the private investigator observed the trucks being filled at a public hydrant and then going back to Selleck's ranch.
But how many times did they have to watch him do it before they did something?
So he wasn't doing it from the same one all the time. He's taking water from a different district and not the district in which his ranch is located. Yes. We believe those we represent fully expect we should take action to protect and preserve our water supplies. And we did. He had to pay a $21,000 fine or settlement in a lawsuit with the district. I mean, does it change your opinion about Tom Selleck, Dori?
You know what I think? How old is he now? He is 79.
Yes. Okay, good.
So,
okay.
Imagine your average 79-year-old man, right? He's going to be grumpy. He's going to be like, I don't care what the law says. I need to water my avocados.
That's it.
Hashtag not a euphemism.
And again, I'll carry on that because I'm a child, is that we've seen many a photo of Magnum PI in the short shorts Those are big avocados to water, you know?
And he's going to be like, screw this. All these young people going on about water and climate. I don't care. I just need to water my avocados. He's just a grumpy old man.
Thing.
So I don't think he has actual malevolent intent. Like, he's not evil. This isn't a sex scandal. He hasn't been caught rubbing himself up against some young girl.
I mean, all he's doing is going, it costs me like, I mean, in rand terms, 1 rand to grow this thing.
Yeah.
People are paying 50 rand for them.
Yeah.
I'm definitely stealing water to water my avocados.
Do you think he has financial problems?
No. He's got his shit together. Remember, I mean, Blue Bloods, massive syndication. Yeah. No, I don't think. And he's had this ranch from 1988. And Dori, I don't know if you noticed, avocados are very expensive.
Very, very, very.
Tom Selleck's fine.
Okay.
Tom Selleck's not worried about
then
us.
He's maybe just a bit greedy?
He's from the 80s. Greed is good. So you cannot blame him, you know? I think the best thing that came out of the story was my pun, Magnum GI. And
you put that one to the post.
Oh, well done. Well done.
Yes.
I'm going to finish off, of course, like we normally do with David Hasselhoff.
What would a long show be without the Hoff?
Of course. I was watching a documentary about guys who like sports miscreants. So, you know, they kind of like did well at sports, but there's like some weird criminal story behind them. And this particular one, it's on Netflix. This particular one, the guy was like a race car driver in the 80s. Fantastic 80s shots, by the way. But he funded his race cars by importing marijuana. And he was importing like boatloads full of marijuana to bring in like millions and millions of dollars, and would then use this to fund his racing adventures. No crime sprees, no drug law. He just would bring in, he needed a way to fund his racing cars. So he smuggled drugs, smuggled weed. I'm busy watching it. This is fantastic. I love it. So much 80s in Miami, excess.
What is the name of this show? Because it sounds awesome.
Well, Dori, it's about sportsmen being naughty, so it's called Bad Sport. Okay.
Ah, clever.
And this episode is called The Need for Weed. Okay, because it's awesome.
Nice.
Loving the 80s of it, all fantastic. And then he eventually, this race car driver, gets to compete in the Indy 500, which is a big thing in America, right? It's huge. Like, Americans go crazy over it. I don't quite understand it. And David Hasselhoff suddenly pops up singing the national anthem, right? At the Indy 500 in 1986. So I go, this is fantastic show content. I've got the clip for you. So I'm going to play it for you. Here is David Hasselhoff singing the national anthem at the 1986 Indy 500. But anyway, you judge for yourself. So, Dori, that's as bad as you'd expect it to be, right? But
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
No further information about David Hasselhoff in this race car team, which, I mean, it's a perfect symbiosis, right? Because it's David Hasselhoff in the 80s. Of course he's going to own a race car team.
It was all about the car. Yeah. It was all about the car.
I mean, he's wearing his little racing, I want to say his little racing costume, but his racing suit.
Was this the start of his singing career?
No. David Hasselhoff came out of his mother's womb singing. I mean, this was
his public singing career.
He's still out there. We covered a few weeks ago. He's in.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
But or something.
Because we knew him as Michael Knight for the longest time, most of the 80s. And then all of a sudden he was a singer.
Well, so the thing goes is that he was massive in Germany and he still sang when the Berlin Wall came down. So what was that, 1989? Right?
Yeah, so this is 1986.
Yeah, so he could have gone like, not cracking America. They just think I'm a dude who rides a car. Let me go to Germany. Like, do the Germans even know that he's singing? I mean, was that official that he's singing when the Berlin Wall came down? Or he just opportunist? That's who I'm going to be.
Just pitched up with his microphone and an amp.
He was just there. Oh, David Hasselhoff. He is literally the gift that keeps on giving this show. I love him so much. So I love the show. I'm so glad that you were able to rise, Dori, to do a show. People were asking, and we got to give the people what they want. This has been that 80 show. After a few weeks off, hopefully not a long break, Dori is on the mend. She is looking strong.
Yes.
Her beanie is looking full of life. Dori, so much of the show. I mean, if I even ask you to go all the way back to the beginning of the show, is there one thing from today's show that really stood out for you?
I mean, there was a lot, right? There's a lot that stood out for me, but the thing that stood out for me the most is definitely Tom Selleck's avocado.
I personally liked Michael Jackson and Bubbles' unofficial autobiography, Blowing Bubbles.
You had to bring it full circle. You had to do it.
Name of my sex tape, Dori. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.